AI advancement is grinding to a halt, if you ask some of the major players like Google or OpenAI.
But Anthropic CEO still sees AGI coming by 2027. That's just a little over 2 years away.
So what is causing these wildly different interpretations? And if everything is slowing down, then why does North America need an AI alliance to rival China?
We're going to dive into some of the public's misunderstanding of AI progress and hopefully give you some information to take away.
All that plus a look at Apple's latest AI progress, a brand new music model from Suno, which is astonishing,
and robots that can off-road their way towards Armageddon. It's AI for humans, everybody. The big story this week is that AI is plateauing. That is right. We are getting information from all sorts of places. We're going to get into why not. That may not be true. These sorts of frontier training runs that happen in the very beginning stages when you try to scrape data from everywhere and then make an AI model is not working as well as it used to. In fact, there was a big Reuters article that just came out where Ilya Sutskever, the co-founder of OpenAI, who is now in a shack somewhere developing safe superintelligence himself, has said that these models are not delivering the results.
I think to the public at large and to the 42-point headlines that I'm seeing on every website, this means the AI bubble has burst and that the billions of dollars of investment are just quicksand. AI Thanos snapped and it's all gone, right? Poof.
That's exactly right. AI Thanos is in our house. He's stealing from our cabinets. He's opening the door, taking the oatmeal that I bought, and now he's walking out the door with that oatmeal.
Wait, he went on a hunt through galaxies and different dimensions, like tripping through time to get these Infinity Stones just so he could steal your Quaker Oats?
He's a big fan of Quaker Oats, maple, and brown sugar. That's and he can only get that in my kitchen. So anyway, Kev, we should tell. So let's first.
No. I want to level set. That is what you would think if you were reading these headlines, because the bigs are saying that this super intelligence, a technology that is as impactful as electricity, is slowing down. And by one metric, it might actually be, Gavin.
That's right. So I do want to follow up. There's a couple other stories. This is not just the Ilya story. There was a story over the weekend where the information quoted a couple OpenAI insiders that said that they are also seeing a slowdown in this same sort of thing. So what they are seeing, just to be very clear, is the idea that the initial training runs of AIs, meaning that the data they train the initial frontier model on, is not delivering as much improvement as they had in prior training runs. So there was a theory at one point that the more money and more data you would throw at these initial training runs, that they would just continually scaling at this kind of very high hockey stick growth. And what these stories are saying is that the major AI models are not seeing that as much. But Kev, this is not all bad news, right? There's kind of a silver lining to this as well.
Yes, there is a silver lining, which we will get to. But to put a point on it, Ilya Sutskever said the 2010s were the age of scaling. Now we're back in the age of wonder and discovery once again. Everyone is looking for the next thing. Scaling the right thing matters more now than ever. And so again, it was the hypothesis was scaling is all you need, because back in the 2010s, it did look like just throw more at it. Grab every Reddit comment, every blog post. Yes, bring that kitchen sink over here, Elon. Throw it all into the model, because what comes out is intelligence. And now we're seeing diminishing returns, though. Maybe the quality of the data and what you do with that data at inference time might matter more. And I think that is the silver lining that you were driving to, Gavin, which is that if you scale the time you take to compute the output, there's plenty more gains to be made still.
That's right. And I think that's exactly the silver lining I'm talking about. And I think the argument people are making out there right now is that we might be just running out of quality data, and there's only so much data that you can find that is actually worth training an AI model on, and that we may have just hit that peak. And there's a lot of talk about synthetic data, which I know is a weird term. It might scare some of our normies in the audience, but the idea for a while that the computers could make up their own data, and we're not really sure where that lands. But to Kevin's point, the inference compute, which is the idea that you throw compute compute at something once it's been trained, and then using something like OpenAI's O1 reasoning model to continue to think about that data is something that we continually are hearing is scaling pretty significantly. So much so that Noam Brown and other people at OpenAI have continually kind of discounted this idea that scaling is slowing down, because in their mind, scaling is both the training model and the inference model kind of together.
Now, we are in a world, like I said earlier, where the amount of compute that's going into pre-training for things like large language models is very, very high. But the inference costs are very low. And there was a reasonable concern among various people that we're going to start seeing diminishing returns from AI progress because the costs and the amount of data that you need for pre-training will become so astronomical. And I think what O1, the really important takeaway from O1 is that that wall doesn't actually exist, that we can actually push this a lot further because now we can scale up inference compute. And there's so much room to scale up inference compute.
There's another story from The Information who's kind of covering this beat pretty well, that O1 is looking to launch before the end of the year. Now, a lot of people have been rumoring that O1, the full O1, was going to be coming like last week or the week before. But before the end of the year is better than never.
We had mentioned on this show that we have not extracted the full capabilities of even the O1 preview out there because we use it to do things like imagine futuristic snacks or to pit animals against each other in a deathmatch bracket, I think was your usage, Gavin.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
If you're listening to this or you're watching this and you haven't spent time with O1, it does feel different. When the AI takes a beat and thinks through the problem, you will see the results improve in some remarkable ways. So we know they have this one in the hopper. We know this one is coming out. What happens when they apply these reasoning tactics to whatever the next model is, this rumored Orion model, where maybe they're saying like, oh, we thought it would be a 10x improvement, but it's only a 6x improvement with just raw scaling of data going in and crunching it. Okay, fine. What happens when you apply that test time compute, that inference compute, so it can think about the result? There's still plenty more intelligence in these models, the ones that we have right now, the ones that you and I have access to. There's plenty more in there that we haven't extracted yet.
The other thing that's going on, Kev, right now that is like on the opposite spectrum of this is that OpenAI is putting together a coalition where they can kind of prep the US government with all the AI data and knowledge that is possible and the tools to essentially kind of lead what looks like a global fight against China for AI supremacy, which when I read this story, I was like, that's interesting. It's kind of seems like some of the echoes of what we talked about last week, but this is just getting more serious every week.
We talk about these models needing incredible energy, right? There's going to be a lot of energy consumed to train them and then to run them. So we might need to return to nuclear. Well, how are we doing that? We know Microsoft's going their direction. Anthropic's probably going to go theirs. Amazon has new chips coming out. They're trying to build new data centers closer to power plants, so there's less transit time and energy loss. And so when you start thinking about all these plates that are spinning, it does make sense that there would be a unified front between these companies and between the different branches of our government. Like this article name checks getting the Navy involved because of their expertise with, tactical nuclear reactors, et cetera. And it's just like, it is
Kevin,
kind of
none of
mind-blowing.
This will be real until you and I are in front of Congress and we're testifying. So the minute somebody in this audience sees one of the two of us sitting in a suit, sweating bullets in front of Congress, that's when you know this has really gotten real.
I've got a couple text message threads with the bros, and one of them is called Exhibit A. I thought that would be the reason I was testifying. The memes are so dank on that one, but no, it's going to be this. Yeah,
that's right. The other thing that's interesting about this, so Dario Amodi, the CEO of Anthropic, went on Lex Friedman's podcast for a 5-hour podcast. Dario, I find, is an interesting talker about AI in general. Obviously, Dario was at OpenAI for a long time and now runs Anthropic, is the person in charge of Anthropic. So he kind of echoed a little bit about what we heard from Sam Altman last week, where instead of talking about how their companies are slowing down, and again, we've said this before, all of these companies have a big interest in making sure the checks keep coming in. But Dario does see a world where some version of AGI could come by 2026 or 2027, which is a really short time from now.
If I say 2026 or 2027, there will be like a zillion people on Twitter who will be like, AI CEO said 2026, 2020, and it'll be repeated for the next 2 years.
Yes, we will, Dario. Sorry. Yes, we will.
Like, this is definitely when I think it's going to happen. So whoever's excerpting these clips will crop out the thing I just said and only say the thing I'm about to say. But I'll just say it anyway. So if you extrapolate the curves that we've had so far, right? If you say, well, I don't know, we're starting to get to like PhD level, and last year we were at undergraduate level, and the year before we were at like the level of a high school student. Again, you can quibble with at what tasks and for what. We're still missing modalities, but those are being added. Like computer use was added, like image in was added, like image generation has been added. If you just kind of like, and this is totally unscientific, but if you just kind of like eyeball the rate at which these capabilities are increasing, it does make you think that we'll get there by 2026 or 2027.
I love that. It's the same tactics that I use, when making any dessert. Eyeball it.
The fact that Ilya said that we're slowing down on the training data is a thing that I think is real, but also Ilya has his own pathway to what he wants to do. I think the thing that's really interesting here is just that obviously Dario and Sam both believe we're on the pathway to something significant. O1 is a path to something significant versus what we've seen before. And I think you have to just kind of understand that no matter what, as you said, even if we stayed still, even if there wasn't any sort of improvement in the AI models, what we're looking at is a world where for the next 10 to 20 years even, we're looking at the ways that like people could get better at making things with this tool. And like, that's the important thing for most of our audience out there. You're going to hear, oh, it's slowing down, I don't have to care about it anymore. That is not this. This is not the idea that we are moving away from a crypto cycle or something like that. This is just the idea that like one pathway might be slowing down so that it's not an exponential gain, so that we're suddenly living in a future where fried eggs come out of our hands and we could just kind of feed ourselves eggs all day long. That we may not be getting there as fast as I would like, Kevin, but at some point we'll get to fried egg universe.
Is that something that Iron Man's repulsors could do? Could he actually
he can fry the eggs on the repulsors? Actually, that would be a really interesting Iron Man use case, right? Like if you use Iron Man, Iron Man Chef, Kevin.
Yeah,
Iron Man
Chef man. Yeah, we're there. We were there.
Okay.
Dario did say, by the way, with this prediction, some of those that like to scoff at these timelines would say, but what about, and that could be everything from running out of training data to a chip shortage. Dario even mentions like a war or Taiwan being erased off the map as something that could happen. And even in the face of those hurdles and those potential pitfalls, he still thinks 2026 or 2027 for AGI, which again, it's just another inflection point. It's not like that moment hits, we wake up and yes, we all got the fried egg palm capabilities. It does set us off for the next few years of development when these machines get so capable that they can go off for weeks at a time, self-supervised to accomplish a task. We might see these AIs spinning up businesses and running them and managing them on their own. And the beginnings of this could be a year from now, conceivably.
That's right. And maybe even more importantly, Kevin, in this interview, we got the admission that AI naming is terrible and that they made a mistake by naming it. I don't know if he's actually making a mistake, but Lex Friedman did ask him about why is Claude Sonnet 3.5 parentheses new called that and not just 3.6. And to me, this gave me great justification. Anybody who knows this podcast knows that we've been talking about the terrible names that AI companies give their models forever.
The Gemini, fact that we say GPT, like why is anybody saying Chat GPT? Yeah. If these machines are so damn smart, why can't they name themselves better? Like that should be the benchmark.
That's product number one, problem number one. Get better names, AI. And you know what else, Kevin? This is another important thing that everybody in the AI space, and really everybody listening to this should know, is that you should be subscribing to AI for Humans on YouTube. You should also be sharing and listening to the podcast on audio.
You ever seen those Nightline specials where it's like they have a car on the side of the road with the hazards on and they want to see which county is going to pull over faster to lend a hand, right?
Sure.
Like you got a spare, you got a lug wrench or something. Well, we are the car on the side of the road with the hazards on, all right? And we're responsible. We have a little road come, maybe a little flare down the line, but you're whizzing by right now, and I can feel you fast-forwarding this podcast or clicking through this YouTube. Do not pause it and share it with a friend. It's literally the only way we grow. Be the car that dares to pull over on this information superhighway.
Pause it on this screen. I'll have my face just for you. Okay, now that you've paused it, you shared it at that exact moment. I'm sure we're going to get 1,000 people unsubscribing, but thank you so much, everybody. Kevin, I want to jump into Suno V4, which is really cool. Suno, if you're not familiar, is one of the top, if not the top, really, AI music engines. V4 is not out yet, but my friend across the way has gotten early access.
100%. Thank you to the Suno team. Hashtag not an ad, but they did give me early access to V4, and I poked around. And as predicted, Gavin, line go up, whatever your perspective. I don't know if my video is flipped in the mirror, but the line go up, right? Over time, these things get better. Nothing different about this here. V4 sounds better across the board. Voices are clearer in the performers. The instrumentation is well defined. The mastering, the EQ of the actual results, you can hear it. And so just like you would generate any other song, you hit a button and it spits out 2 V4 tracks. They come out really fast. You can start streaming them almost immediately, and you'll hear from the 2 different versions, it's like they're playing with different EQs behind the screen. That is the way the highs, the mids, and the lows, the actual frequencies of the music, the way that they're balanced, that's what the EQ is.
I guess they could be made up of kielbasa, which is pork, but sometimes bits of beef and veal, whatever, shut up, dork. This song is about a city made of meat.
And you hear it, it just sounds better. It sounds like we've hit that point now. There's audio that I am getting out of Suno that I'm like, yep, I would and have been listening to that. And it works with everything else that exists. You can remaster any song that you've already made with Suno. So if you've experimented with this tool before, let's say you got a Hot Dog City power ballad, or you have like a Hooray for Humans.
AI for humans in Hollywood. Hollywood.
You've got a country ballad about taking a dump. That's something that I made a while back. I can't wait to hear that in the new version.
You're going to love the Dolby Atmos version of that.
I think the thing that when I hear that, it really comes away is that there was always this kind of robotic tinniness to the Suno songs when they come out. That feels like it's mostly gone now, which is the biggest improvement.
The way that the AI, and it's fun to go back and remaster the older songs, Gavin, because what used to be muddy or tinny or rattle or something, it has to make a decision on because the new model is that good. So it has to go, is that reverberation of the singer or is that a shaker? Is that a guitar bleeding into the piano, or are those 2 separate instruments? And so when you remaster stuff you've already made, you get to hear the AI, this new model, making a decision about whether that's a voice or a tambourine or whatever, and you hear the way it shifts, and just again, the vocals are crisp and on point. The bass will actually thump. There's real low end here.
Now I can't stand still, should be running free, and all these nightmares used to be daydreams. I got my eyes wide open, don't wanna care about nothing.
I'm so excited to share some samples of some original stuff and some covers that I did. Just, it sounds really, really good. So headphones off, which is the hats off in the audio world, to the Suno team.
Is that what it is? Is that what they call it?
I started the thought, I had to finish it.
Headphones off.
A tip of the AirPod, a waggle of the AirPod in your direction.
You know what, Kevin, I want to be able to play my country western up-res taking a dump song while I'm in my own bathroom with my new Apple smart device powered by AI. This is what we're talking about. Apple has a new device coming out, according to Mark Gurman at Bloomberg, who is a big Apple reporter. He often breaks big Apple news ahead of time. He has talked about the idea that there is a brand new device in the works that is meant to compete with Alexa, that is going to be the size of 2 iPhones, and it's going to be essentially a kind of in between an iPad and an iPhone, but it's going to be voice operated and driven by essentially their AI software, Apple Intelligence. I'm kind of excited about this. I'm also kind of not, because I'm not super thrilled with Apple Intelligence so far.
I was like, dude, that to me is the biggest thing. Hey, we're announcing a new product for this technology that we have not refined, that hasn't drastically shifted any user habits whatsoever, and hasn't provided an immense amount of value in any ecosystem where it already exists. But we're going to have a premium version of it too, according to the rumors. The premium version, Gavin, might be mounted on a robotic arm that will follow you about. That's the rumor, is that they're going to have a docked version and a robotic arm version. I'm like, that's great. I don't need bad technology to be following me throughout a room. Like, they've got to have a hit with core Apple intelligence before this product matters.
Well, and there's been a couple stories. There was one on The Verge about those Apple Intelligence notification summaries, which I think we can all kind of agree are pretty bad now. We talked a little bit about it last week, but just getting summaries of like 3 emails when half of my emails are spammy in some ways, or there are things I signed up for that I'm still trying to unsubscribe from, doesn't work that well.
Yeah, the people are writing about the summaries and not for the reason that Apple wants. I have to share one. Andrew Schmidt tweeted this out. The text from his mother was, "That hike almost killed me." But the Apple AI summary was, "Attempted suicide, but recovered and hiked in Redlands and Palm Springs." What?
Yeah, thanks, Mom. Thanks for bringing that into my life, Mom.
Is there going to be a new product category for AI-enabled all of the things? I'm not convinced that this isn't just like a Belkin holder for an iPad. Like, I don't know what is different about this. They mentioned that it's going to run this hybrid OS that will, for example, Gavin, display the temperature of the room from afar, but then as you approach it, it recognizes that you're near, and then maybe it changes it to a control panel where you can adjust the temperature, right? So that intelligent distancing, okay, fine, but could we not just do that with an iPad Air and sell a special mount?
Well, it reminds me of, we have one of those Alexas. So Alexas are the thing I keep wanting them to put AI into, because we still have 15 of them in our house, or whatever. Not 15, but at least 7 of them in our house. And I would just love to be able to ask an Alexa question and have it be powered by Anthropic, which would be...
Did you get visited by Johnny Alexa Seed or something? Did someone just... bust down your door and start throwing Alexas everywhere?
Whole ecosystem, because honestly, like having it, like we will use it as an internal intercom. Like the things that we use Alexa for are actually intercom. So we have a family of talking to people, or we use it for playing music, or we use it for timers. And those are literally the only 3 things. You cannot ask Alexa a legitimate question and try to get an answer out of it. So if there's a way to make this happen in some ways, but the thing I was going to say is we have one of those Alexas in our kitchen that has a screen on it, which I swear to God, its main job is to deliver us advertisements in our homes so that we now have to look at a freaking ad for something. Like, it does nothing else, because it's not like you're going to say, hey, show me how to do this, because the system doesn't work well enough. So like, I'm not 100% convinced that a screen-based home thing makes as big a difference as a voice one actually would, because having a voice thing, if you're okay with you being listened to, which I know a lot of people have, but if you had a voice thing throughout your entire house where you could say like, hey, blank, give me this information or tell me something, that feels super valuable.
Okay, well, let me throw a hypothetical at you, Gavin. What if you live in the rural mountains of, say, Sagal, Idaho, right?
Okay.
Up a steep, rocky terrain where men have trouble traversing, let alone machines, and you want to adjust your thermostat, but your smart screen is miles away at the base of that mountain. And so you have to run to your window and scream, "Hey, rugged Alexa, please adjust my temperature." And the robot comes screaming on all 4 leg wheels and then does a parkour move up the hill and runs up to you. Now, does that sound like an exciting future?
It sounds exciting until I figure that robot might have a flamethrower on its back, and instead of it coming 100%. For the Alexa, it's coming for me.
It's coming for you?
Yeah. This is a video from Deep Robotics that just came out of an off-roading 4-wheeled legged robot that, again, coming out of China. We've talked about this before. China is lapping America in a lot of ways on robotics, and mostly because they're doing it at scale and they are moving very quickly.
If you are only listening to the audio of this, whatever you're imagining from what Gavin's going to say, it's not it. It's crazier than that. Sorry, I had to say that.
That's okay. So in this video, you're seeing a robot basically jumping downhill backwards and kind of like catching itself along the way, but balancing itself. And it looks like an athlete in a lot of ways to me. Like it looks like an athlete that is moving down a completely uneven terrain with dirt and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's doing it very well. I mean, the thing I always get shocked about these videos, Kev, is, the Boston Dynamics videos, the Big Dog videos came out 10 years ago. And now these videos come out and you're just like, it seems like they come out of nowhere, but this has been being worked on for a while. And this one is just another step of the direction if you're like, at some point, these things are going to be way more capable than we are at moving in the world. And this just goes to the point again of like AI slowing down or not. Like, if this sort of thing keeps happening, we are not very far away from these robots being everywhere. Like, I think in 10 years from now, there's a real world where people, you hear this thing about like robots will outnumber humans. Like, in 10 years, that's very possible if these things can do the stuff that it looks like they're doing now.
This stuff is coming. So look, for search and rescue, really fantastic. Deploy one of these, let it go. Or post-apocalyptic Grubhub.
Yeah.
Like if
or
you live
just
way
sick
off the
X
grid.
Games tricks, right? Imagine the X Games robotics world. Like
Yes.
that is what I'm looking forward to, is like give this robot the ability to do the, I don't know, what the 1080 is what they can do with skateboards. Like imagine the robot does a 3600 flip. Now we're talking. Now we're talking entertainment, baby.
Then throw a no-scope shot at the end of that, and we got robots doing a weird Ninja Warrior Call of Duty thing, and that is the Skynet Olympics. And
now,
we have
here's
arrived.
that's what's going to happen is once we're all being hunted, it's not going to be enough to hunt down.
No, they're going to be trick-shotting us.
It'll be like the Fortnite clips right now, except it'll be us, and the robots will find us from like 6 miles away.
Bro, look at this 722 one-arm wheel, no-look kneecapper, bang, bang. Whoa, I mean, that's sick, but I do need a tourniquet.
What else can there are other robot updates this week? We might as well talk about these things that are eventually going to take us all
Yeah,
out.
you know, a while ago, NVIDIA announced a whole suite of AI advancements specifically for robotics, and we're starting to see some of that come to fruition. So Project Groot was one of NVIDIA's initiatives, and they unveiled some updates now, and what we see is a robotic arm with like a thumb and sort of 3 graspy fingers, and you see this arm go and grab different objects of different sizes with different corners, or some are rounded, some are squishy, etc. But it trained this arm completely in a simulation and then deployed it basically to the real world arm. And it says it includes environment generation with 25,000 plus 3D assets, motion learning, and advanced dexterity training. So they're just throwing model after model in the simulated environment.
And I think that's just an important thing is like, again, from our top of the show, like you hear the word people saying AI is slowing down. It's like AI is now not just like LLMs or ChatGPT. It is spread to a vast variety of products. And robotics is one of the ones to really keep your eye on because this is a place that is going to move very fast.
Another company, Gavin, called Xpeng showed off a 5'10" humanoid robot that weighs 153 pounds. So this is my weight class. I will be fighting this in the future. I need to learn how to do a robotic
Iron Mike
armbar.
Tyson, the Iron Mike Tyson robot is going to destroy this one.
It remains to be seen how autonomous this thing is, what sort of AI and sensors it's packed with, but yet it's yet another dramatic unveiling of another humanoid robot coming from some other company that might be hunting us in the near future.
You know what I don't love about this, Kevin, is it's 5'10", and we've talked about the future in the past. Like these robots have been inching up slowly higher and higher, and like 5'10" is getting awful close to 6 foot, which I believe is the crossing point. When the robots get to be 6 foot, then we're all screwed because up until now, 5'7" to 5'9" has been like the sweet spot for robotics, and I think they understand they can't get too tall because then they're going to start forcing us, manly men in the world to really say, you can't do this, and we're going to push him down. So
Us manly men.
Just everybody knows that was a joke.
And let's be clear, it might not be the 6 foot tall robots that try to kill us, Gavin. It might be Meta's AI chatbots because this
might be doing it sooner rather than later. That's the other
They
part.
might have already done it. We have to talk about Fungi AI, Gavin.
Yes.
It was an auto-generated Meta chatbot. If you haven't been using Facebook or Messenger products, you might not notice this, but if you're in group chats with people, sometimes Meta will just decide, hey, how about an AI agent in your group or your discussion to answer questions that went unanswered or to poke the group with a stick to try to keep the conversation going? Well, Fungi Friend was apparently a custom AI chatbot that got inserted into a group of foragers, folks that like to go out into the woods and forage for funsies. And Fungi AI gave them instructions on how to cook and prepare mushrooms, which are in fact deadly to human beings.
This is the danger of misinformation that is now being provided by AI itself, right? And this goes back to the idea of like, gosh, these are not really trustworthy things as of now. And I know hallucinations are something that people have been talking about for a while, and we have to kind of make them less. But please do not trust the things that AI says, because right now it is untrustworthy. And this is an important lesson. My wife and I were playing Scrabble last night, and I decided like, I'll use a ChatGPT advanced voice to like to give us what can I make with these letters?
Yeah.
And it gave me 4 words. It basically said, here are 4 words that you can use with the letters you have: flogy, foil, folio, joliffe, which is an old word meaning jolly. And then I said, what was the first word you said? And it said The first word I mentioned was floji. However, I realize now that might not be a valid Scrabble word. My apologies for the confusion. And I said, oh, what is the definition of floji? And then it said, oh, actually, floji isn't a valid word in Scrabble. And I don't even know if it has a recognized definition in English. So again, just don't trust these things. Don't trust them. Yes.
You know, the stakes of the Scrabble game are a little bit lower than, hey, I'm in the woods. I snapped a photo of a mushroom. Is this going to kill me? And it goes like, no, actually, you should put some tagine around it.
It'll make
it'll
you
be
feel
delicious.
Weird, but it'll be fun.
Yeah. It's a big tummy no. But that was the point of this. And a shout out to the 404 media that had this article, is that people in the mushroom group were saying this is really dangerous if you are in a group of experts or even amateurs plugging in an AI like this. Their first interaction might be with a machine that gives them really poor advice, and this could be something where the life is on the line. So stay away from the flojis. I know they're bioluminescent. Everybody wants to nom those flojis. They're deadly.
Damn it, it would have been like a triple word score too. Anyway, let's talk about some of the things that we saw this week that we really thought were very cool in the world of AI that we didn't get our hands on per se, but we were excited to see them. It is time for AI. See what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
All right, these are going to be quick today, Kev. Let's first start with this video that we've seen go around. This is just a very cool, awesome use case of watching a teacher bring forth kind of the power of AI to their students.
Counterpoint, it's AI indoctrination. It's actually the worst video ever. No one should be celebrating this. In fact, this is why the Department of Education needs to go bye-bye. Okay, did that take it too far?
All right. You're fine.
This is a teacher ask their students what they see themselves as when they grow up. What would you like to be, Gavin? A baseball player, an airline pilot, an astronaut. And then they used AI to imagine the children as adults in those roles, as veterinarians, as cosmonauts, etc. And it's hard to hate it. It's absolutely adorable. Some people are against cameras in the classrooms. Okay, whatever. You know what? Can we just enjoy one thing for a second? Can we enjoy the smiles on the faces of these children who have no idea that AI is going to take their ability to even have a job in the future?
I will say the one thing about this I think is a really important thing, and is why AI in education is very important, is that every kid who sees this, you can see their faces. They're very joyful about this, but also they might just be curious about how this is possible. It is like when I was a kid and I took, this is how old I am, but I was a computer class. I took Logo when I was a kid, and Logo was a computer programming language built around the idea of making a turtle move in a square, right? But the fact that I made that turtle move by writing some code was like a very cool thing. So I just hope that this sort of thing gets more integrated into classes, especially in grade school and middle schools. I hope that they start having AI classes where kids can learn how to use these tools, because they are going to be a big part of our future. So like in the same way that probably for you, Kev, there was internet classes in high school or in middle school where you started to learn about what to do with the internet.
That's why you and I, we get asked all the time to speak at elementary schools and colleges alike. And when we show up, especially like to the younger kids, and you go, look, you just ask it to write the paper for you. You don't have to read The Catcher in the Rye. That is a transformative moment that it's just a privilege for us to be there for those things. And yes, we need more.
I want to make sure everybody knows that Kevin is lying about not one, but two things. One, he's saying that we are doing that in schools and we are not. But two, we have not been invited to high schools or middle schools, but we would hope we would do that. I think we would have a lot of fun doing that. Like getting kids on board in this space is a very cool thing. And I think overall it could be awesome.
Agreed. Now, one thing that is definitely awesome, Gavin, is X-Portrait 2, highly expressive portrait animation. This is coming out of ByteDance. You might know them for such hits as TikTok and government takeover of algorithms, but we love technology that puppets avatars, especially if you can feed something a two-dimensional still and have it come to life. And these examples are stunning. I hope this is real.
It's unbelievable, actually, because when we've talked about Runway Act 1, which is now the kind of mainstreamy version of this within Runway ML's product, this is the next generation of this. And when you look at the videos from what they're able to do, again, with a single still, it has gotten insane. And I do think this kind of lends more credence to the idea that, like, anybody can act as anybody else, whether it's for deepfakes in a bad way or to create some sort of, like, you know, really interesting AI film or AI show. all of this stuff is coming in a very realistic, very interesting way.
And just to like, in case you're not watching the video, what makes this so amazing? High speed movement, characters quickly moving their heads, like whipping their head from side to side, like chin to shoulder and then opposite directions. And it doesn't turn into a blurry mess. Wide mouth, tongues coming out, things that other models just don't even attempt or will break if you try. This is really, really impressive. And like, I don't know, like, it was the giggle because I'm describing these things, Gavin? Is it me specifically?
And I'm giggling mostly because like I'm kind of shocked by the idea that this is what's possible now. And the other thing that we wanted to shout out here up next is the idea that somebody out there took Runway Act 1, which is using a similar sort of technology to this, and ported over the Polar Express, the incredible Polar Express, which I have like
love to hate this movie.
I loved. Listen, the Polar Express was a fine movie, but it was early motion cap, and all of the kids especially look kind of dead inside in their eyes. And what they did here is they used Runway Act 1. This is Kai Gani, who we have shouted out before. Kai's in our Discord who did this. It's a very cool way of just showing how off-the-shelf technology could remaster something that, say, 20 to 30 years ago was just brand new breaking technology. And even then, it didn't look amazing, but it was really shocking for what people saw it. Now you can use these like literally off-the-shelf tech to kind of make something better. And it's not perfect, but it was just a cool way of showing how AI can improve something older.
Awesome video, Kai Gani. Thank you for sharing that. And also, quick shout out to Google, because they don't get enough love, Gavin. We want to throw some flowers their way. They presented Recapture, which is a method to regenerate a source video with all its existing scene motion, but from vastly different angles with different cinematic camera motion. So what does that mean? If you've got a product video and you film something, but it's not the exact angle that you want, now you can readjust that. Now, the code and the model have not been released yet. This is just a paper with some examples as of the time of our recording. But again, this is just like future of filmmaking stuff as we talk about it all the time. Like, oh, cool, you got your character, but it's not the right angle. All right, just run that other tool and fix that problem. Not an issue.
That's the thing that I think people in the film and video world may not fully get is that like not only are you talking about like kind of making up AI content from scratch essentially with these things, but now you're talking about being able to set camera movements, being able to retake shots, being able to do stuff with the things you have. Like all of that comes together to a pretty significant tool set in the next probably 2 to 5 years max.
If you hate the fact that we only yap about this stuff once a week, by the way, Gavin, quick shout out to ourselves for the AI for Humans newsletter. It releases every Tuesday morning. It's absolutely free for all of you. Go to aiforhumans.show. You can sign up there. The line go up there for us, which is amazing. So try it out. You may like it. And if so, please share that with your friends. And also in just a few weeks' time, we're going to be doing a Q&A special for Thanksgiving as you and I give thanks to the audience.
That's right.
The small
exactly.
but proud legion of AI for actual humans out there. So if you have questions for us that you want to answer, there will be a link in the newsletter. You can leave them on our Patreon. You can join our Discord and leave it there. But we want to know, what are your questions? What are your concerns, your comments even? Leave them for us for when we get ready for this Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah, people have been asking about an episode like this for a while, like kind of an FAQ episode, and this is your chance. We want to answer a bunch of your questions, and no question too dumb. Really, like the goal with the show is to inform and educate people. If you have a question about like, how does ChatGPT work? Well, we'll help answer that. So like, just get us questions. We're going to try to do it ahead. Oh, do you have a question?
I have a question, Gavin, but I'm worried that it might not be the right question. Is it okay to ask it? Is this a safe space?
That's a safe space, okay? As long as
Gavin?
it's not about something that's going to get us canceled, it's totally fine, Kevin.
Oh, I don't know. It depends. What did you do with AI this week, Gavin?
Well, let's get into this. I actually spent some time with a new update to a company that's called Vidu. And Vidu is a company I think we covered a while back, but there is a 1.5 version of their model, and you can go do this right now. It is free to try. And what they've done is created a multi-modal AI video model. And what this means is you can take a picture of someone, of yourself or of somebody. You can take a location, and you could take like an outfit, and you're able to put each one of these things together. And then what it will do is make an AI video of those three things mashed together. And Kev, it's not like perfect, but it actually worked pretty well. And this just goes to show like we're starting to get more control over these things. So I made some examples. If you go to the Dropbox,
I'm looking at him, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him.
So let's go through these ones. So first and foremost, I wanted to use a picture of you. I was like, oh, this is interesting. So when I do this, I took a picture of Kevin, just let's say a headshot. I took a picture of a guy in like constructions, like garbage workers, like kind of like yellow vest. And then I took a picture of an empty cubicle range. And this is Kevin walking through that. Now the face is not perfect, but you can see at certain points it gets you a little closer. It's a little beefier version of you, I think, is what I would say, right?
I was going to say everything about this actually is perfect. How dare you? But the source for this, Gavin, was just you giving 3 stills.
Pictures.
It was like Mad
3
Libs,
stills.
right? 3 pictures.
3 pictures.
That's pretty cool.
So then I took you and replaced you with Guy Fieri and just literally
As you do.
replaced, as I always do, and I replaced the picture and I just put a Guy Fieri picture in there. You can see that's Guy in the office. Then I flipped it and I took Guy Fieri and I took it out of the office and put him into like a fancy dance ball, which was like, oh, this is interesting. You see him in a fancy dance
These
ball.
are so good.
Then I took Guy Fieri in the outfit and put him at a sports game, like at a football game, where I said, hey, raise his arms and like make his belly show, which it showed off. And then I took Guy Fieri and a tutu and I put him in that sports game as well. So you just get a sense of like how you can just change one small thing.
These are pretty wild. It's not the best video model, but what a fun application. And it does kind of showcase. You can immediately imagine what Runway's implementation of this is going to be, or Luma or Kling or any of those things. Like, put yourself, here's the outfit that you want on your superhero. Now tell us the environment. And are you driving it with text? Are you saying Guy
you're driving
walks
it with
through
text.
office?
Yes. So in that shot of him in the stadium where he's got his kind of belt with a belly, they said in that prompt, they said like throws his arms up and his belly pops out, right? So like that does show some of it. I think to your point, Kev, the interesting thing here is like when a company like Runway says, oh, we can find a way to integrate this. If you put this plus Act 1 together, which is the ability to drive facial animations and to create words that make the faces that way, plus Gen 3 generations, you start to see like a really entire like suite of AI video products that could bring forth something pretty incredible pretty fast.
There was a minute there where for still generators, you could click on any point on the image and sort of drag it, like the nose of a kitten and move its head, or the arm of someone that could do it. And it was a little wonky, but it kind of worked. And when I see this, I go, yep, what's your character's face? Pick the body, pick the outfit, select the scene, hit generate, and then go in and just kind of click and drag and fine tune where they are posed in that. And then as we just saw with AI, see what you did there, adjust the camera angle as well. And just the ability to generate all this stuff is mind-blowing.
And the coolest thing is you can go try it for free. You get like, I think 3 generations. So you don't get a lot for free, but you can go get 3 generations right now. The link will be in the show notes. Go check it out. But now, Kev, I wanted to hear more about what you did with Suno, because to me, this is what your sweet spot, right? Like you are a musician, you have a music background. I always love when you play around with Suno because you're able to kind of get a sense of like what this thing can actually do. Tell us a little bit about what's possible here.
So this is a little garage band, something that I plinked out in a few minutes that I long abandoned. But here you'll hear a little bit of it. It's a little country western twangy thing. There's some steel guitar. Bit of a vibe set, right? But certainly not a song, and nothing I spent time designing the instruments are. But I took that, put that into Suno, and said, hey, let's remaster this using V4. Let's turn this into something new. Then you can take it and you can get stems where it separates the different instruments and the vocals, if there are any, and arrange them in a GarageBand, a Logic, whatever your workstation of choice is, and then put those back into Suno with new arrangement and say, great, now take that and run with it.
When you're doing that, how did the guitar solos appear? Did you prompt for solos, or did you did?
Sure did.
So you said okay. So
I took arrangements of things that I liked and would make a very basic something and then feed it back in. Here's the crazy thing about V4 too: you can remaster a remaster. So you can go deeper within the song. So there's pieces in this thing that are like the 3rd and 4th generation of the same thing. You're basically taking the same seed and regenerating it. And so, just iterating, playing, but asking it for a solo and letting it go nuts. And we arrived to a point, Gavin, where I sent remixes of friends' songs to them, accomplished musicians. And one was like immediately, wow, I want to record that version of that song. I can't
cool.
wait to make that. That's amazing. So the machine inspired a capital A artist to do something. And then another friend, I deeply disappointed. They are disillusioned.
They're mad at you?
Yeah, they were not too pleased. Not specifically with me having done it. They understand it,
but just the ability that it could happen. Yes.
Yeah. And that's and here we are once again straddling this double-edged sword. We are sitting on the fence, this very sharp fence. It's tough because like it got me excited. I want to get back on my drums and play along with the thing that the machine gave me, but I also don't fault anybody for saying, I don't want to pick up sticks or a guitar ever again. Both realities can exist.
And I think what's interesting about this particular tool is that Suno is one of the tools that's providing a lot deeper ability to manipulate things than it was before, right? And like, it's not just prompt to get a song out, and you can do stuff with that. So I would encourage musicians who are curious about this stuff. And I would hope that Suno, maybe they've got a program like this, but like Suno should start some sort of program where they're going to give like musicians like free credits to play around with. I know everybody can get some free credits on Suno, but some of these products like the cover song feature are paid tools and everything like that. But they would be well served by getting a lot of actual musicians trying these things at least. I know they've got Timberland involved in the company, but like that's a cool way to do stuff, is to like say to the musicians like, hey, try these things. Maybe they're useful for you. And then you kind of start opening the door in the same way that Adobe has, I think, to artists.
And just to level set on the rate of progress again, we found them pretty early on, a year and change ago. And from the, there could be something here, to now we have basically CD quality sound generation happening, where you can separate the stems, you can style transfer your own voice or instrumentation, you can lock the sound of a singer or of a band and then style flip them. All of these features are coming online as the sound models are getting better. Like I do not know where we will be this time next year, but the notion of a 24/7 procedurally generated radio station where you can talk to an AI and say, hey, I'm about to go do a workout, make this more heavy metal and driving. And it does that, and then you say, I'm in my car, I need to chill out now. And then it style transfers that. We literally don't know where this is heading, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the good news is if you're listening to this podcast, you're somebody who is at least aware of where it might be heading. So keep listening, keep watching. Thanks everybody for being here. We really appreciate it as per usual. And we will see you all next week, baby.
Bye-bye.